There's a dark chapter in American history that some Chicagoans don't want you to forget. After Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, tens of thousands of Japanese Americans were rounded up and incarcerated for up to 4 years. Their crime? Being born of Japanese descent. Many survivors chose to resettle here in Chicago. You heard their stories last week. Tonight, more about their journey to redemption.
Here, I was thinking I was just like any other American.
We knew that some among them were potentially dangerous.
And all of a sudden, they tell you that you have to move.
We are protecting ourselves without violating the principles of Christian decency.
It wasn't just the forced move to a remote internment camp that made Enoch Kanaya feel he wasn't like any other American. As World War II raged on, some classes inside the camps taught them how to be more patriotic.
They opened advanced Americanization classes for college students.
Kanaya was among 120,000 Japanese Americans rounded up into what President Roosevelt called concentration camps. FDR issued the executive order in 1942 after Japan bombed Pearl Harbor.
First attention was given to the problems of sabotage and espionage.
This video, produced by the U.S. government, highlighted the country's distrust of anyone of Japanese descent, despite the fact that the majority of those incarcerated were American citizens. Still, Kanaya, who was born and raised in Portland, dreamed of serving in the U.S. military. His brother was already in the Army.
And here I was in camp, and the driver were telling me I was an enemy alien.
His enemy alien status changed when in 1943 President Roosevelt announced that volunteers would be accepted into a segregated Japanese-American combat unit, the 442nd Regimental Combat Team. It had a casualty rate of 93%.
They were sending all of us to be replacements for the 442nd.
Kanaya fought in bloody battles in Italy and France. And by war's end, the 442nd became the most decorated unit in U.S. military history. 2 years ago, Kanaya and fellow veterans were awarded the Congressional Gold Medal, the highest civilian award given by Congress.
From our service, they finally recognized that they really didn't have to put us away, and that we were loyal from the very beginning.
After the war, Kanaya, who is now 88 years old, resettled on Chicago's northwest side with his family. The Windy City became the most popular destination for intern Japanese Americans, including Kiyo Yoshimura and her family. She was months away from graduating high school when she was sent to camp for 2 years. Yoshimura says readjusting to a new city and starting over from scratch wasn't easy, especially for her immigrant parents.
They were just beginning to see some breakthrough, and then the war happened, and they had to start all over again. I went to the University of Illinois and then got my master's in social work.
46 years later, a formal apology from the United States government. President Reagan said it closed a sad chapter in American history. The law provided $20,000 in reparations to surviving internees.
It didn't occur to me that our Constitution was violated. I didn't think about that until probably after the war.
Today, both Yoshimura and Kanaya visit Chicago schools teaching students about the Japanese internment. The Japanese American Citizens League provides free workshops to encourage teachers to include the event in their curriculum. There is no mandate to do so in Illinois.
In California and in the state of Washington and in Oregon, there are mandates within the state code that call for the education about the Japanese American incarceration.
Through it all, they hope their stories will inspire justice.
The Constitution is a piece of paper, but if you don't live by it, it doesn't mean a thing.
Lest history repeat itself.
I hope it will never happen again.
Well, most of the 120,000 intern Japanese Americans have passed away. It's estimated only 15,000 survivors are alive, many of whom are in their 80s and 90s. Kiyo Yoshimura and Enoch Kanaya tell me it was important to tell their stories because soon no one will be left to give a first-hand account. Their hope is that their experiences are taught in every history class in the United States. Oh, and by the way, not a single incident of espionage or treason was found to be committed by the Japanese Americans.